If she hadn't lifted the piano lid that evening, she never would have known the truth. It had been exactly 2 years since Claire's mother passed away. The house had remained mostly the same, quiet, nostalgic, and filled with her mother's favorite scent of lavender and old books. The grand piano in the living room, however, sat untouched, covered with a thin sheet and silent dust. Claire never dared to open it. Not because she didn't care, but because that piano held too much memories of her mother's laughter, her music, and the pain of knowing she'd never hear it again. But that evening something felt different. Maybe it was the storm clouds outside, or the soft hum of a forgotten tune echoing in her mind. Whatever it was, Claire stood up, walked slowly to the piano, and lifted the cover. And there it was. Tucked carefully beneath the strings was a sealed envelope with her name on it. Her hands trembled as she pulled it out. The paper felt old, the ink slightly faded, her mother's handwriting undeniable, delicate, and full of love. She sat down, heart pounding, and began to read. My dearest Claire, if you're reading this, it means I'm no longer by your side. But I need you to know something I never had the courage to tell you. Her breath caught. The letter wasn't just about love. It hinted at a past Claire had never known existed. A decision her mother made long ago. A man, a promise, a goodbye that was never spoken. Claire's eyes moved slowly across the paper, her mother's words flowing like a quiet river of truth. Before you were born, there was a man. His name was James. I met him in the summer of 1995, in the very town we live in now. He wasn't just someone I loved. He was the one I thought I'd spend forever with. Claire's breath caught again. James? She had never heard that name before. Her father's name was never spoken in the house, and any time she had asked, her mother's eyes would go distant. The letter continued. James had dreams of becoming a musician. He played the violin like the world depended on it. That's how we met, during an open mic night at a little cafe downtown. I was there to play the piano. He was there to listen, but he played that night too. And just like that, music stitched our hearts together. Claire imagined it all. A young version of her mother laughing under string lights. James beside her with his violin. The air filled with possibilities. But dreams are fragile things, Claire. And sometimes love alone isn't enough. James got a scholarship to study in Europe. He begged me to come with him. I wanted to. I really did. But I was scared. I had just learned I was pregnant with you. Claire put her hand to her chest. Pregnant? Her mother was already carrying her when James left? I never told him. I couldn't ruin his dream. And I didn't want you to grow up thinking you were the reason someone left. So I stayed. I raised you with every note I ever played on that piano. You were my song, Claire. Tears slipped down Claire's cheeks. Her heart ached with a strange mix of sorrow and admiration. Her mother had loved deeply, sacrificed quietly, and carried the weight of silence for a lifetime. And now that silence was beginning to sing, Claire sat back on the floor, the letter still trembling in her hands. For years, she had blamed her mother for the quiet house, for the missing pieces in their family puzzle. But now she understood her mother hadn't been hiding out of shame. She had been protecting her. Still, 1,000 questions raced through Claire's mind. Did James ever come back? Did he try to find them? Did he even know she existed? She picked up the letter again, flipping it over. There was more. I kept your father's photo hidden behind the piano soundboard. I don't know why I never threw it away. Maybe I hoped that one day you'd be ready to see it and understand. If you're reading this now, Claire, it means I'm gone. But I hope you're finally ready to forgive me and maybe to find him. Claire's fingers trembled as she slid her hand along the inside of the piano. She felt around the wooden edge. And then a slip of paper. No, a photo. She pulled it out. The man in the picture had kind eyes and a violin resting against his shoulder. Her mother stood beside him, younger, radiant, and in love. Claire had never seen that version of her mother before. So alive, so full of promise. Something inside Claire shifted. She wasn't just grieving her mother anymore. She was meeting her, understanding her. And now she had to meet James. But where would she start? The letter didn't say where he lived. No last name. No address. Only the image and a feeling. Claire took out her phone, opened a local Facebook group, and typed, "Looking for a violinist named James. From around 1995, he played in a downtown cafe open mic nights in town name. If anyone has info, please message me. It's important." She hesitated, then posted. And as the sun began to set outside, painting her living room in orange and gold, Claire looked at the piano, no longer a silent monument of the past, but a bridge to a future she hadn't expected. The next morning, Claire was barely awake when her phone buzzed. She rubbed her eyes, heart suddenly racing. "Hi, Claire. I think I knew James. He used to play at Cafe Harmony every Thursday. My dad was the owner. Let me check some old photos." Claire sat up straight. Her pulse quickened. After years of silence, just one post had begun to open doors. More messages followed. One said, "I remember James. He played a haunting melody. Always looked sad. He stopped coming one day. No one knew why." Another, "My mom said he moved to Portland. She thinks he taught music at a community center there." Claire's fingers flew over her keyboard. Portland, it wasn't too far. She packed a small bag, took the photo of her mother and James, and called in a week off work. This was no longer about curiosity. This was about truth. About family. That night, as she sat on the bus headed north, her mind replayed every moment of her childhood, every silence. Every moment her mother stared off into the distance, as if listening to a song only she could hear. And now, Claire wanted to hear it too. In Portland, she visited 2 community centers. No one had heard of James. Then a woman in her 60s at the 3rd center squinted at the photo. "Oh, I knew this man. We called him Mr. J. He taught violin to the kids, even organized concerts. Left a few years ago? Said he was going to find something he lost long ago." Claire's breath caught. "Do you know where he went?" The woman nodded slowly. "He left me an address in case the kids ever wanted to write. I have it somewhere." Claire held her breath as the woman disappeared into the back office. 5 minutes passed. 10. Then the woman returned, holding a yellowing paper. An address. Claire stared at it, her eyes wet with a mix of fear and hope. She was finally going to meet the man whose absence had shaped her entire life. The air felt colder as Claire stood outside the small, white cottage nestled near the edge of a quiet Oregon forest. Her hands trembled as she double-checked the address. It matched. Wind rustled the pine trees above, and a bird's distant cry echoed lonely. Like the past she had carried for too long? She took a breath and knocked. No answer. She waited, then knocked again, gently this time. Finally, the door opened. An elderly man stood in the doorway. He was tall, his back slightly bent, his face weathered but familiar, the same smile from the photograph. And in his eyes? Something soft, something broken, something that recognized her. Claire swallowed hard. "Are you James?" "I am," he said softly. "And you look just like her." Claire blinked back tears. He stepped aside. "Come in." Inside, the cottage smelled of old wood, music sheets, and forgotten memories. Instruments lined the walls. On a dusty shelf sat a small framed photo of her mother, younger, laughing. Claire sat, clutching the letter she'd found in the piano. "I found this," she whispered, placing it on the table. James didn't touch it. He only looked at it. "I wrote that 30 years ago. I was young. I was afraid." He paused. "Your mother..." "She asked me to stay, but I didn't know how to love without breaking things. I thought leaving was the kindest thing I could do, but I never stopped loving her." Claire's voice cracked. "She never told me about you. I always thought she was just quiet." She was. After I left, she turned her love into music. And into you. Silence. James finally picked up the letter. His hands trembled as he unfolded it and read what he himself had once written. Tears streamed down his cheeks. I never thought anyone would read this. Claire reached out and touched his hand. I'm glad I did. They sat together for what felt like hours, the years between them softening, like snow on an old rooftop. Before she left, he handed her something, a small music box. She gave this to me. I think it belongs with you now. Claire wound it once. A melody filled the air, the same haunting, beautiful tune her mother used to play. She smiled through tears. She was always playing this. Now I know why. As she stepped outside, the sky above Oregon turned gold with the sunset. Her heart was full, but light. She had found what her mother never spoke of and brought it home. And if this story touched you the way it touched her, subscribe. Because the next story might be the one that brings your own heart home.